My name is Heather Havenwood. Today we have Doberman Dan on the Google Hangouts with us, his first Google Hangout, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming event, Success Magnet Seminar. Now, Dan, you may or may not be coming to the event, but you're extremely supportive of us and about the event and who's going to be there. So I want you to talk a little bit about who you are and your story, and why you think the people that are going to be at this event are so critical in a very unique lineup that's never happened before.
Well, a big reason is because of you, Heather, because I know you and I know your track record. And also, I have no idea how you did it, but when I saw Joe Sugarman on the bill, who I know has not done a seminar in decades, over a decade, you know, that guy is the grand master of direct marketing and copywriting. I got extremely excited just about that. And then, of course, when I saw all the other people added to the bill, I don't want to start naming names. I'll let you do that because I'm afraid I'll leave somebody off. Like I know John Carlton, Joe Polish. Help me out.
John Benson. Yeah. So John Benson, it's all the Joes, right? So you have Joe Sugarman, John Benson, John Carlton, Joe Polish, Chris Guerrero, which we're gonna make up a name for him with J, so maybe like another Joe, and then myself and Kim Seltzer. So that's the lineup right now. Now, going your background, you worked with the late Gary Halbert, and both the Halbert sons were extremely supportive of us for this event, and so were you. And I find it really fascinating that this event has attracted some high-quality entrepreneurs, but more importantly, copywriters. And the reason I say that is because when I was putting this event together, I asked myself the question, what is the one success magnet of entrepreneurs? Like, what is that skill set or that thing that really magnetizes their life in that business? And what I saw was copywriting. They all started, you started at copywriting. That was like the skill set that started the success for you and your work with the late Gary Halbert.
Absolutely. You know, I'm an old school guy. I started in this business before the internet was a viable media. So, you know, what we had available then was direct mail, space ads, you know, that kind of stuff.
Eight tracks. You had 8 tracks.
Yeah, 8-track tapes. I had a rule at one time. I would not date any girl who, at least at one point in her life, had never held an 8-track tape in her hand. If she knew what an 8-track tape was, she was okay to date.
Are you serious?
So,
I think I held one when I was like 5. So
oh God! Thank you for making me feel old.
It helped my mom put it in those.
And now I'm gonna. Man, oh man, I used to make fun of my grandparents for doing this, and now I'm going to talk like my grandpa used to talk to me. A lot of people in our little world, in online marketing, their experience only goes back a few years. And their heroes or the people they emulate, or more likely the people they swipe from, only go back to people a couple years ago who are all the big names in internet marketing. They're not students of the history of our business. Mm-hmm. And everybody who's at the event, these are people who've been in this business, you know, 20, 30, 40 years. Okay, like for example, Joe Sugarman, the first guy to use an 800 number in an ad. This is cutting edge stuff. This is when, you know, it's really easy for us to order nowadays. We read something online, we click a button. You know, back then you had to get people, you'd send them a letter in the mail, they don't know you from Adam, and you'd have to get people to fill out the order form, buy a money order or send a check, go down to the post office, buy a stamp. You know, things that Joe Sugarman and John Carlton have done, if a lot of the internet marketers had to do that today, well, they'd be out of business. So these are the grand masters of our business. These are the people that we are. The only reason that a lot of online marketers are successful is simply because they're standing on the shoulders of the people who are presenting at your event.
Absolutely, and I find it fascinating. Even John Carlton, even Joe Polish, they've been around for 10, 20, 30 years, longer than a lot of the people that are currently online marketers. And they would have a hard time conceptualizing, how do you create a ad or a letter that you send out in the mail and then you wait. And then you wait. And then you wait for days, weeks, for then a response to come back, and then possibly a money order to come back, and then you ship it out. Like, it sounds so like a long time frame, but more or less is like the core of all the business from back then and today. The core skill set is really truly marketing, and it's the success magnet, and that's why I brought these people together and why we're having that event, and why I'm speaking at the event, and why I reached out to you to see about how you could support us. Is the people on your list are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs not just as consultants and speakers, but they're dentists and owners of pest companies and doctors and lawyers, people that are doing real business in the real world. And that's why I find it so fascinating, and I just find it fascinating that a lot of these guys that teach marketing today may or may not be doing both, and everyone in that room speaking is doing another business on the side, and the speaking is not their main thing. I mean, Joe Sugarman has not spoken in 15 years, so I would like to talk to you. Not spoiling me, I've spoken. Hasn't done an engagement, a seminar in 15 years. He does speak on people's stages sometimes for having fun. So tell us about your background as a copywriter and how that's helped you in your past businesses and certain businesses. You have some past businesses. You want to talk about that?
Sure. I had a job. I used to say I had a job that I had started hating, but looking back, it wouldn't have mattered what job it was. I probably would have eventually hated any job because, I just wanted to be free. I wanted to be in control of my schedule and in control of my income, and so I was a cop for 12 years, and of the first 3 years I was just a cop and thought that was the best I'd ever do, and then I got exposed to Amway. That was
Amway.
Were you? It seems like everybody's gotten hit up for Amway at one point or another.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And of course I failed miserably at that and lost a lot of money, but at least it got me exposed to entrepreneurship. So of the remaining 9 years I was a cop, I was a full-time cop, part-time entrepreneur, and tried starting various businesses, all of them which failed miserably, which pretty much sucked because I usually financed them on my credit cards.
Yep.
And I got really, really tired of failing and losing money, and I stumbled upon Dan Kennedy and bought his magnetic marketing kit. And I forget what business it was at the time that I was trying to save. I think it was a vending business of some sort, but when it finally hit me, like, wow, I just paid $400 for some Xeroxed pages and a 3-ring binder and some cassettes. I thought, that's way cooler than any of these other businesses I've tried. I think I want to try that. So my hobby at the time was bodybuilding, so I published I did a self-published bodybuilding course and sold that via two-step ads in the magazines. And that was the first, after 9 years of failure, it was the first business that was successful. And after about a year, I was making enough money, I was able to quit my job. And the only reason I became a copywriter was simply I was too broke to hire a real one, so I had to do it myself.
I can understand that. A lot of
then
people,
I
a
was
lot of
hooked.
people do. A lot of people do, and I think that's a common story. It's like, why did you grow up one day and go, I want to be a copywriter? It's like, actually, I had to learn how to sell through words. They had to learn how to actually sell something in a business through words. Couldn't hire an expert to do it.
And I found, well, it's not true in all cases, but a lot of times I've found that a business owner that starts like that, they have to learn to write their own copy for one reason or another. They're the best copywriter for the job because, I mean, first of all, they got skin in the game. It's their business. And second of all, nobody knows their business or their products or their market better than them. And I mean, Joe Sugarman's a perfect example. He wrote all of his copy for his various businesses, the JS&A catalog. You know, that was a pretty monumental task. And I bet, you know, him being the savvy entrepreneur that he is, if he could have hired copywriters who could, you know, produce as good a response as him or better, he would have done it. But he couldn't. He was the best guy for the job.
Yep. Yeah, no, he was. When were you first exposed to Joe Sugarman and the triggers? When were you first exposed to that?
Once I got in, see, I didn't even know what a copywriter was. I was doing it, and I didn't know there was actual words or a name to describe it. And then I got Dan Kennedy's, what's his book? The title is escaping me. Dan Kennedy's book on copywriting. And at that point, it was a full-blown addiction at that point. You know, I subscribed to everything, Dan Kennedy's newsletter, Gary Halbert's newsletter. You know, I discovered Joe Sugarman probably from either Dan Kennedy talking about him or Halbert talking about him. I was, as I am still to this day, a junkie, you know, so bought all of Joe Sugarman's books. You know, any cassettes I could. Wow, I'm really dating myself now. I bet you there's people watching this, Heather, that don't know what a cassette tape is.
What is a cassette? Yeah, this is one of his books. I don't know. He's got 3 of these books, Advertising Secrets of the Written Word. This is one of the 3 series he has. He actually has it in cassette. That's great. I don't know if I have a player, but yeah. But this is a book, Advertises of the Secret. I don't know. Have you ever? Were you ever exposed to this at an early time in your copywriting?
Yeah. Well, I don't know when that came out. I bought it probably. If memory serves me correct, I'm thinking it was mid-90s. As soon as I became aware of it, I bought it all because, like I said, it's an addiction. Not only do I have print copies back in my library, when my wife got me my Kindle for my birthday, I bought them again to have on my Kindle.
Right, of course. You got to have it twice because that's what we do.
Absolutely.
right, absolutely. So you got into the bodybuilding business. That's what you've been your main business, and then I think you got into supplements as well. But you really use this skill set, would you say, to build every business that you've built?
Yeah, I didn't even start. I never really told people I was a copywriter. I didn't really consider myself a copywriter. I was just a serial entrepreneur, and the copy is what drove all my projects. They were all after all those other regular businesses I tried to start failed. All I started was direct response businesses and online businesses, and it was all driven by my copy. So I mean, that was the ability to write copy is what created all those businesses, and that's a good thing because I've developed some really bad habits. I have to support. Mainly, I really like sleeping indoors, and I like eating regularly. And
that's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, I like that too. And nice cars and things like that.
If it weren't for, look, if I couldn't write copy, there is very little else I could do. I can play the guitar. but I've discovered I can only make about 75 to $100 a weekend doing that. So
not so good. Not so good there.
Yeah, the copywriting has been what's driven all of this.
So let me ask you a question. Okay, so people that are listening, this event is a pretty interesting event because you never had all these people on stage at the same time. A lot of them don't even do necessarily teaching events anymore. And ideally, in the perfect world, as an entrepreneur, we would want to say, yeah, I want to go live with John Carlton or Joe Sugarman and just be with them 24/7 for 2 months to really understand how they think, so then I could go out and be successful. And that's a fun conversation, and that would be great if we could all do that and just live with Joe Polish, or Joe Sugarman. I'm sure they would just love that. But for you, you've kind of done that, and I wanted you just to talk about that. You actually, lived with, hung out with on a daily basis with a copywriter.
I did. I engineered a way to get on Gary Halbert's radar. For some reason, Halbert really resonated with me, and the fact that we both were born and grew up in the same little town of Barberton, Ohio, and I guess, I felt like we had kind of the same warped sense of humor. He really resonated with me, and I felt like if I could just apprentice with this guy, even if it's for a short period of time, I could really leapfrog over a learning curve that may take decades. I was already I'd already been writing copy for several years and had started several successful direct response businesses, but I wanted to take it to the next level, and since I'm lazy, I wanted to find the shortcut of doing that. So I thought if I could learn directly from Halbert, that would do it. So I turned one of his techniques around on him that he taught in his newsletter of how to get a VIP's attention, and it worked. And we started communicating by phone and email, and he wrote a newsletter about Costa Rica, and I found that pretty intriguing. So I called him and asked him more questions, and he said, "I'll have my girlfriend's in town. She's Costa Rican. We'll call you and we'll answer your questions," which he did. So it was probably about 2 months after that I sold every possession I had except like a couple pairs of jeans and some shirts and my laptop and my Doberman, and just without ever having visited, moved to Costa Rica. So I sent him an email and said, "Hey, remember, your newsletter about Costa Rica, and we talked about Costa Rica? Well, I decided to live there, and I'm there now." He's like, "Holy crap, I can't believe it." So when he would come to visit his girlfriend, we'd hang out and have dinner. And then one time he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. Do you mind if I stay the weekend?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, that'd be great." And he wound up actually staying for 4 months. Halbert had a warped sense of time, by the way, and so maybe he lost track of time and thought that 4 months was the weekend. And then on top of that, then he got a bunch of work from a couple clients, and he talked me into moving back to the States, and I lived in his client apartment, which was a few floors up from his apartment. So we hung out pretty much daily for about 1.5 years.
Wow. So that's where you really got in to what I call a master's head. It goes back to the old adage, even in yoga or meditation, people go to India and foreign countries and be with their guru or their master or whatever that is, to be closer to the true essence of whatever their art is. And you did that, and I find that really fascinating. Nowadays, we go to seminars, we go to events, and very, very few events, I think, nowadays, which I find fascinating, even talk about the true masters of copywriting. How do you create a business with your pen? But not only did you did that yourself multiple times over and again, but you had 1.5 years, I would say, extremely invaluable education with one of the masters, and now someone that that really helped you in your businesses. Is that fair?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was an incredible experience. The funny thing is a lot. Well, he never sat me down and taught me anything. He never sat down. Okay, Dan, now I want to teach you that. Never did that. He just let me observe his life and how he did things and figure things out on my own. There were a few times that he'd say, you know, now I saw you cringe when I told that client to get the F out of my apartment, and now I'm going to explain why I did that. But there were a few instances like that, but mostly he just let me observe. And some of those lessons just did, maybe I'm a slow learner, some of those didn't come together until years later. Even after he was dead and gone, it was almost like he's speaking to me from the grave. I'd remember something he did at the exact moment I needed it. And yeah, there's just nothing that can replace that kind of in-person interaction with a master.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it absolutely, and now, unfortunately, you know, Gary's no longer with us, and but you know, both of his sons, Bon and Kevin, have been extremely supportive of our event, and now we've put together this event, and you know, people ask us all the time, are you going to record it? Of course, we're going to record this event and hopefully have it in the future. But there's nothing like being able to be in the room and hanging out with. And watching. Here's the thing I'm actually having excited about the event is the dynamic between everyone in that room. That's going to be really a lot of fun to watch. Is John, Joe, myself, and Joe, I find that funny, and Chris, and watching the dynamic between these successful entrepreneurs that have risen and fallen and risen again multiple times in their lives, and how and what they're going to do with that time. It's going to be pretty interesting. I hope that you can come out. If you can't, we understand, and I'd love to, and I appreciate your support. So who do you think this event is for? If you could like look at the camera and say who needs to come to this event?
Really, anybody who is interested, or any business owner. I don't care what kind of business it is. You know, online, brick and mortar. If you're a professional, a dentist, a doctor, accountant, any business owner, anybody who writes copy or sells for a living, wants to learn how to exponentially improve their results, exponentially improve their income, and even those people who, you know, maybe they have a job right now and they want to be self-employed. This is an invaluable experience for them. You know, you're going to find out about markets, market research. You're going to find out about how to sell. You're going to find out about how to sell in print, which that's all writing copy is, or I say in print, but now it applies to any media, online or radio or whatever. All those people need to be there. There's something about the being there at the seminar that it just simply can't be duplicated. I had this conversation with Scott Haynes, another copywriter who mentored with Gary Halbert, and we were talking about some seminar a few years ago and how we didn't want to travel because we hate, you know, being strip searched by the TSA. Well, actually, you know, I actually kind of like the pat downs. But
I have a feeling you do. You know, I don't know about you, Doberman. I have a feeling you're like, go for it. Come on, let's go. I'm kidding.
But you know, and then we finally had to admit, every single seminar we've ever gone to, we have come away with something that has always increased our income, and then we felt stupid for trying to make excuses to not go to this certain seminar that we were talking about. There's something about being there in person that that just can't be duplicated any other way. I mean, I always get value when I buy DVDs or cassettes of the seminars, but you're missing the in-person part, which I think is the most important part. I mean, this could turn into a life-changing event. Literally one single thing said at this seminar could change your life in ways that you can't even imagine. And I'm not, hyping. I'm not being hypey. I'm speaking from experience.
Absolutely. It's going to be actually a really fun event. I hope that you can make it out. It's October 25th and 26th. And,
I'm doing everything possible to arrange my schedule.
Do you need to call your wife?
Even if it causes a bit of marital discord to be there.
Just call her and go, look, we want him there. Come. So hope she sees this. Sorry. Hope you don't get mad. October 25th and 26th. Thank you for your support to your list and your newsletter. I really appreciate that, and people that are on your list. And DobermanDan.com. Go check him out if you've never heard of him. Then I don't know where you've been, because Doberman Dan's amazing. I love your stuff. Check it out and come to our event. We'd love to have you there. This is Heather Havenwood and Doberman Dan here. You're in Florida, and I'm in Austin, Texas. And I look forward to seeing you there. Any last words, Doberman Dan?
No, just thanks for inviting me, Heather. I'm excited about the event, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Great. I'll see you guys there.